All right, what's going on, guys? Great presentation by Cal. Going to be some stuff that's probably a little repetitive, but going to be diving a lot more on like the actual consumer goods space, which is kind of what you guys are working on with Pepsi. But to give you a little bit of background, my name is Tyler Dooley. I'm a class of 2017 graduate, originally from North Andover, Massachusetts, so about 40 minutes north of Boston. Fun facts, I'm one of 6 kids. 5 of us went to Holy Cross, so we're a big Holy Cross family. My younger brother actually is a freshman here now. So we span everywhere from like my older sister who's 37 all the way down to my younger brother who's 18 now. So big Holy Cross family. I was an economics major while I was here. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I kind of, like many of you probably, are just kind of learning what you enjoy, figuring out what you're interested in. And this for me was like the closest I could kind of get to business and learning about how the economy works, how sales work, marketing. It kind of touches on some of those things. It's very theoretical. It's a lot of theory, a lot of textbook reading that isn't always applicable to the real world, but it was as close as I could get, and really enjoyed it here. And after graduating, I went and got a job in tech sales. I was kind of already working on my first company behind the scenes, but I didn't have the money, quite frankly, to go ahead and start a product-based business. Because you got to purchase inventory, a lot of hidden costs that you don't really kind of think about when you're starting something. So I basically took what I thought would be like the quickest way to make a little bit of money and give myself some flexibility to go out and start my own company. So while I was working this job, before work, lunch breaks, after work, I was working on setting up my first company. And that's, kind of ultimately when I made that jump about a year and a half into it. I started my first company, Wake Up Water. It's a healthy energy drink mix. So if you guys are familiar with like a liquid IV or products like that, it's essentially that, but it gives you kind of energy in the form of caffeine, B vitamins, instead of just hydration. So that was the first business. And then about a year and a half into that, Wake Up Water started to do okay. Started to build out a team under me, kind of take a little bit off my plate. Because at first you're pretty much doing everything. Like you're doing every part of the business. And once I got to the point where I felt like I had a little bit more time, I really wanted to start another business, specifically in the alcohol space. I know it's kind of weird because it's like healthy energy drink and then alcohol, but I'm somebody who I love to go out. When I was here at Holy Cross, I love to go out with my friends. In Boston, same thing. I've been living in Boston for 7 years, love to go out with my friends, have a lot of relationships with bars and restaurants there. And everyone kept coming out to me. They're like, hey, you know how to make beverage. You know how to make beverage products. Like, why not make an alcohol that all you and your friends can enjoy when you go out? So at the time, didn't really have, the necessary money or time, quite frankly, to start another business. And my brother and my father, who both had full-time jobs at the time, kind of came to me. They're like, hey, look, if you can start this, if you can kind of set it all up, we'll do the day-to-day marketing and sales of it. So that to me was like, all right, this might be able to work. It turns out that was a lot more work than I anticipated. So spread pretty thin right now, but I love doing it. And other than just like the product itself, there's really kind of 2 big differences. Like Wake Up Water sold only online. So we sell on our website, we sell on Amazon, we sell on TikTok Shop, all that good stuff. But it's all online. And it's a completely different business model because the way you market it, the way you have to handle your logistics, completely different. With Selly, you can't really sell alcohol online. You can sell like wine and things like that, but it's very tricky to send like a vodka-based cans, vodka soda across the country. So just with regulations and laws and stuff. So that's a completely different business model and something we had to kind of learn as we started it. It's in person, it's in liquor stores, it's in grocery stores. And so like we're sold all throughout Massachusetts and New Hampshire. If you guys are familiar with like Market Basket, Demoulas, like we're in all of those, all the liquor stores in and around Boston, North Shore. We were out in Worcester a little bit. We kind of pulled back, hopefully, kind of pushing back into that market soon, but 2 different products, 2 different business models. And that's really important, like kind of knowing what that business model is, because like I said, the way you market Wake Up Water, not only from a product standpoint, but just from a, getting content out there, engaging with customers, positioning your product is just so entirely different than when you have to sell a product in stores. So that kind of leads into this, different types of business models. You have direct to consumer, which is D2C, and that just means you're taking a product and you're shipping it from your website directly to a customer. So direct to consumer. The other one is business to consumer. So that can include direct to consumer, but it's also going to include if you have, say Selly, You would take that and sell it through a store to a customer. So business to customer. And then lastly, business to business. So think like Dell Technologies or Microsoft, like they're selling big data, center solutions, cybersecurity, any sort of software into companies, business to business. And how you position and sell each one of those types of products and services is going to be different. So kind of understanding what line of work you're in is really important. And Cal touched on this a little bit, just like being very personal on the sales side of things, having similarities, being comfortable with an individual. That's huge in sales, no matter what you're selling. Like when I'm selling Selly, I have to go into liquor stores and I'm talking to people that own maybe 1 or 2 liquor stores, explaining to them why they should take Selly instead of High Noon, Truly, White Claw. And I have to kind of convince them that we're going to help them generate sales and that our product is worth carrying. So it's a very personalized approach, getting in front of people, talking to them, and ultimately convincing them to carry the product. People ultimately just want to do business with people they like. I mean, it's really not that complicated. Like, we're all human. We would rather do business and work with somebody that we enjoy talking to, that we enjoy dealing with on a daily basis. If you come in and you're not personal and people don't like you, it's going to make your job a whole lot harder. And in that sales process, a really big thing to focus on is this idea of like value-based selling, right? So it's, why should I carry your product? Why do I need your service? What's the value in it? What's it going to do for me? It's not really transactional. It's not, trying to convince somebody to buy something one time. Ultimately, you're going to want that person to come back and buy again. You're also going to want them to potentially refer you to other people. So, you have to think longer term, and building those relationships out, super, super important. And then lastly, just building brand. So even if it's not a product, even if it's yourself, like, you want to be this trusted expert in the space. You want to, if you're Cal and you're selling med device, like, people want to know that Cal knows what he's talking about. They want to know that he knows the ins and outs of it, that, they can trust him. He's a good person. He knows what he's talking about. The product he's selling is actually going to work. So all that stuff really, really matters. And the different channels I was talking about with Wake Up Water and Selly, right? So Wake Up Water, fully e-commerce. So it's a product-based business. We sell online. We sell on, like I said, my website, Amazon, TikTok Shop, etc. And then the other side of things is the retail, and that can include food service. But to make things, kind of simple, it's pretty much e-commerce and then like on-premise, like in stores. So with retail, that would be, Pepsi selling, product in grocery stores, convenience stores, restaurants, sporting venues, college campuses. So all those things are kind of included in that retail service. So this is Wake Up Water. This is just like a snapshot from Amazon. It's becoming a really big deal. I mean, as you guys know, I'm sure all of you in this room have bought something on Amazon or a brand's website, TikTok, whatever. It really wasn't a thing a few years ago. Like, it really just the past probably 5 to 7 years has become like a monster player in generating revenue for businesses. So that's why we kind of led with a retail first approach, or e-commerce first approach. This product is very light to ship. So instead of me going around and selling it into stores and hoping people will come in to buy it, I can target customers directly online, reach the entire country, and sell effectively that way. So the other part about it that I really like is we get a lot of data. So, I'm sure you guys know that Facebook and all these websites, they track their cookies. So, it's a little sketchy to a degree, but, these companies know who you are, like, to a degree. They don't really necessarily know all your information, but they know when you're accessing the website, what other sites you're going on, where you live, what gender you are, probably what type of income you're making. A lot of information, and brands love that because that can help kind of form a thesis around who's buying our product, who should we be targeting. So that's a huge advantage over retail sales. Retail sales, there's a lot of companies that sell data, so I can find out how many times Selly is being sold. I can find out who's going to liquor store buying it, kind of different metrics around it, but it's not as granular as this. And I can capture emails, phone numbers, and you can control that customer experience by reaching out to them via email, text messaging, and really engaging with them and building that brand that way that you can't really do on a retail side of things. As I was just saying, digital marketing. So that's kind of how you're attracting customers to buy your product. It could be organic content. That's just you taking photos, videos, posting on your social media ads. So taking that content that you've made and just amplifying it. So reaching a larger audience. Typically that's done right now on like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm sure you guys have all seen product ads. Some of you probably even bought product that way. That's the bread and butter of e-commerce based businesses, is how do you attract customers, putting out good creative content that people engage with, and then getting them onto your site or getting them onto Amazon and actually buying the product. Influencers and affiliates, also, you guys are probably very familiar with that. That has become a huge, huge market right now. I always tell people, if you're looking for like a side hustle, creating like content for brands is massive right now. We work with like hundreds of different affiliates and influencers that basically just create create content for our product. And that can be, very high paying, or it could be, a small micro influencer. Maybe it's free product. Maybe they get commission on sales. So we do something right now where if anyone generates sales for Wake Up Water, we give them $20, which like doesn't sound like a lot of money, but hey, if you can get 10 of your friends to buy product in a month, you make $200 extra. Like, it's not bad. And you're not doing anything. You're just kind of posting a photo or video. So that's a really cool way to kind of attract different, audiences and get some customers. And then last, email and SMS marketing. So it's kind of self-explanatory, but having that customer data, reaching out to them on email, reaching out to them on text messaging. Text has actually become really big because emails, I'm sure you guys get a million emails a day. You probably don't open them all. So the open rate has really dropped on email. And so now brands are trying to capture your phone number so that they can text you instead, because you're much more likely to open a text message than you are an email. So just kind of little nuances like that. And then lastly, subscriptions is probably the biggest thing when it comes to like e-commerce based businesses. It's something that Wake Up Water really prioritizes. We have about 2,500 subscribers that buy product every single month on repeat that I don't have to do anything for. Obviously I have to ship them product, but there's really no engaging them. There's really no getting them to buy again. They already have their information set up. They're already buying products every month. So that just kind of automatically gets fulfilled. And that can really be a kind of a snowball and a compounding effect. Because if you think about it, you get somebody to buy your product, but you're not just getting a sale for 1 month. You're getting it for the next month, the next month, the next month. Eventually they may cancel, but that is huge because you don't have to spend any extra money to market to those people. Like, you're just getting free revenue that way. So that's a massive unlock when you can have a product that's a consumable. And it's why we position Wake Up Water as kind of a morning routine drink. Like, hey, add it to your morning, replace your coffee, start your day with Wake Up Water. Because when you start to kind of get in that cycle of using it every day, that's what goes hand in hand with those subscriptions. And that is what we've been kind of focusing on ever since. With Selly, it's a little bit different. So, here's kind of an example of what we do in liquor stores. We put up massive displays of products, basically trying to kind of capture attention in store because you can't really do many sales online. So, trying to capture attention in stores is very difficult. It is still primarily the main way people buy products. So people, even though e-commerce is a thing, even though people do buy online, retail still accounts for a vast majority of sales. So that's still most people's bread and butter. It's where Wake Up Water probably will have to go eventually anyway, even though we want to focus on e-commerce. It's just such a beast that you have to go through it. With retail though, there's typically 3 different tiers of it. So there's somebody who makes the product, and then there's somebody who delivers the product to stores, and then there's ultimately the stores. So with someone like Pepsi, they're so big that they're making product and delivering it. With smaller products like Selly or other small brands, they'll actually pay a distributor to deliver it. So if I wanted to sell Selly in a liquor store, I have to go through a distributor. They typically take a percentage that can be anywhere from 25 to 35%. We typically try to be around that 25 or 30%, but that they're getting a percentage just so they can deliver my product to the store because I can't do it myself. So that 3 tiers is a really big nuance as well. In terms of selling product though, you can do some digital marketing, but the thing is with retail is you have to do so much digital marketing that you're top of mind. So a Pepsi, a Coca-Cola, but you probably don't know a Selly. So how do you get people to know your brand and then come in the store and actually buy it? So that is kind of the biggest challenge with retail. I always tell people when they say, oh, we got into 1,000 stores. It's like, that's great, but that's the easy part. Getting into the stores is the easy part. Like, you just run around like a crazy person, sell your products, sell the vision. Stores will take you in eventually. You can do that. Some of the bigger ones might be more challenging, like Market Basket was really hard to get into, or if you sell like a Stop and Shop or Walmart, very hard to get into. But a lot of these liquor stores, they'll give you a shot. The hard part is driving what's called sell-through. So that is actually getting customers to come and buy your product. That's the real hard part, because you can sell something once, but just like in e-commerce, we talked about that repeat buy. We want stores ordering again, because if you sell 1,000 stores product and that's all they ever buy, you're not really going to make any money. It's not going to be a long-standing business. But if you can get 1,000 stores ordering product every week, every month, now you have something. So driving that sell-through is super important. And that can come from the digital marketing we talked about, all those different tactics, content, etc. Geo-targeting is a huge thing. So what we can do on Selly and pretty much every brand is you can take a certain demographic or a certain territory and you can serve up ads to those people. So if I was selling in a liquor store in Worcester, what I could do is I could basically set a radius around that liquor store and serve ads to Holy Cross, Assumption, different colleges that are 21 plus, of course, but getting them to be familiar with Selly and like knowing where it is. So if I'm selling in a liquor store, say like Chieftains or A&B or whatever, I'm not going to send that ad to somebody like in Texas because like they are not going to buy the product. But if I can now all of a sudden send it to people that are 5 miles away, they know that liquor store. It's a very effective form of marketing. It's very targeted. The other thing is store displays, just like you see here, there's so many different forms of it. There's different end caps, which you can put on the end of an aisle. There's like in aisle displays like we have here. So many different ways you can do it, but a really good way to capture the attention, because when you go into a store, especially alcohol, like you're probably going in saying, okay, I'm going to go buy High Noon or White Claw, Truly, whatever it is. And you don't know about these other brands. But if you have a massive display in front of you, you all of a sudden capture that attention and you can ultimately convert that customer if it looks appealing. That really is the main thing that you'll hear constantly again and again, is like capturing attention. Like attention is the most important currency. If you can capture someone's attention, you potentially have a customer in your hands. That's why these brands spend billions of dollars in marketing, because that is ultimately what's going to help drive sales. The last two things you can do are coupons and promos. So, buy one, get one free, 50% off, $1 off, whatever it is, just to incentivize that purchase. People that love your product may buy a few. People that have never tried it before might be given just enough where they want to buy for the first time. And then the last thing is product sampling. So this is something we do a ton with Selly. We have samplers all across Boston and New Hampshire that essentially go around to liquor stores and just give out free samples. And that is the best way in the beverage space to get customers. It's called getting liquid to lips. So somebody who's never had Selly before, having them come in, knowing that they're going to buy something else, stopping them, asking if they want to try this new brand that's local, that's really good, here, give it a try. Once they try it, you're so much more likely to convert them, because they may love it, but even if they don't, they might just buy it at pity. They just might be like, oh, he's working hard or she's working hard. I want to buy, I want to support. So sampling is a huge way to convert customers at retail. The most famous version of that's probably Costco. If you guys ever go to Costco, like they just give out samples all day long. Like you can literally get like a full lunch there by just walking around getting the samples. And that's why they do it, because they can get so many customers trying every day. And then if you only convert a portion of those people to actual paying customers, you're golden. So that's huge. The next part about it is positioning your products. When you're doing the sampling, when you're doing the digital marketing, how are you positioning your product? And there's two main things. It's who's your avatar, who are you selling to? Because if you're selling to somebody that's a health conscious young female who loves to work out, like you're gonna kind of tailor your marketing a certain way. Or if you're selling to a 75-year-old guy who drinks Bud Light in Texas, like that's a different marketing. Like that's just completely different. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to know who your customer is, and you have to serve up content that resonates with somebody, because people ultimately buy from people that are similar to them or people they aspire to be. So Kim Kardashian, a lot of people look up to her. A lot of people think she's a cool celebrity. They might buy a product because she posts. If I'm posting a product, nobody knows who I am. So I have to ideally look or talk like or be like my demographic, because that kind of subconscious feeling and approach, that connectivity, you feel like you're similar to them. You feel like you could be friends with them. You're going to trust them. You're ultimately going to convert at a higher rate to buy the product. And then value. So like what value you're providing. We talked about it earlier. Are you saving people time? Are you saving them money? Are you educating them? Are you entertaining them? There has to be some sort of value exchange, because that's all sales is you're getting someone to pay you money for something, for some benefit. So they have to get some utility out of your product or service. And just touching a little bit more on avatar, like I talked about, who you're selling to. So we actually separate a lot of our marketing based on demographics. So here's like a social media ad we ran, for example, kind of a younger female, clearly, pretty good shape, like health conscious, in a kitchen setting, which is kind of going in line with our morning routine. Like You guys, when you wake up in the morning, you're going into your kitchen, you're grabbing your coffee, you're grabbing your water, whatever it is. These little subtle things can actually really help drive sales. That was a great ad for us. But again, we may run that and test that against like a male demographic. But it just converts so much better when it's like a younger female who like can kind of resonate with that more. And again, someone who's health conscious, who maybe has a morning routine, who goes to the gym, who may get up early for a workout class, like that ad just happens to convert better. And you start to learn that through testing and through data. But that's something that is kind of tried and true. What do they look like? What do they like to do? What do they care about? And then once you kind of have that information, you can kind of build out your brand identity. You can then create marketing and content for those demographics. And that ultimately is what brands try to do, because it just becomes so much more effective than just a blanketed approach. Like if you just put out like a vanilla ad that just like is trying to reach everybody, it's probably not going to reach anybody, because we just all aren't the same. Like we just have different interests. We look different. We sound different. We live in different areas. We come from different backgrounds. So creating as close as a connection to someone's personal life as possible is a huge advantage for a lot of brands. But ultimately, the most important thing is going to be your product. So you have to have an amazing product. It is the most important thing that you can possibly have in the CPG world. Products. Because when someone likes your product, they're going to buy again. We talked about it with subscriptions, lifetime value of customers. So like if I get a customer to buy Wake Up Water once and they buy it for $20 or $25, that's great. But what if they came back and bought it 10 times a year? Now, instead of 20, 25, it's 200, 250. You multiply that across thousands of people, that can be a lot of money. It can really help when your product's great, because you're driving those sales through organic outreach. Like if somebody really loves your product, you're probably telling your friend about it. You're probably telling your family about it. And that ultimately helps your business, because again, you're not paying to acquire that customer. So your marketing expense starts to drop. And that all stems from just having a really great product. I kind of always tell people, like, I want to create something that's so good that when someone tries it, they're going ahead and telling 10 people, because that snowball will really start to form. And ultimately, after a long period of time, you're going to have a ton of customers lined up that you didn't even have to pay for. That's why a lot of these products go viral on TikTok or other things like that, is because someone tries it, they love it, they spread it that word to the world, and then everyone comes and buys it. And now that product has just exploded onto the scene with very little marketing expense. And the last thing is just kind of paying attention to like consumer trends. So, right now, I know you guys are kind of working with Pepsi and figuring out like how to position things for the short term and long term. Something to really pay close attention to is these consumer trends. So in like the soda space, for example, there's kind of a few brands right now that are really exploding onto the scene. Olipop, Poppy, few others, but those are kind of like the main two. And if you look at what those brands are doing, it's very different than like your traditional soda approach. It's like a healthier alternative, but it's not so healthy where it doesn't taste good. So what I'm seeing right now in kind of the CPG world is, yes, we want healthier products, but what does that actually mean when you break it down? A lot of people want whole food ingredients. So they don't want all these fancy ingredients that you can't pronounce. They want to have natural ingredients that they know where they're coming from and that they can pronounce and that they're familiar with, so that they know what they're putting into the body. I was just talking about this with Olipop and Poppy, the sugar versus artificial sugar and sweeteners. Really interesting topic, because we went from every product that tasted great had hundreds or not hundreds, but 50, 60 grams of sugar in the product. Then as time went on, people were like, okay, I want to be a little bit healthier. I don't want all this sugar in my products. So now products are coming out that have no sugar. Well, the problem is a lot of those products don't taste good. So this goes back to how important product is. Your product has to taste good or it won't sell. So I don't know if you guys were ever familiar with Travis Scott's alcohol brand Cacti, Cacti, I think it was. And Travis Scott, one of the biggest celebrities in the world, he also had like Anheuser-Busch behind him. He had all the money, all the distribution, all the marketing in the world. The product was not good. So everybody bought it the first time, never again. The product ended up going out of business. Travis Scott was unhappy. He's hopefully coming out with another thing now. But that's a perfect example. If your product's not good, nobody's going to come and buy it again. So that's going to ultimately put you out of business. The sugar versus artificial, like I said, with Poppy and Olipop, you look at them, those have a few grams of sugar. So it's not no sugar, but I'm seeing a huge trend right now to like having a little bit of sugar. So it's a much better alternative than say 52 grams in a Coke or a Pepsi. But just enough to like, make sure it actually still tastes good. Other couple things, seed oils is a really big thing. Maybe you guys have seen it. getting, companies and brands to not produce their product with seed oils. A lot of studies showing right now that those aren't great for you. If you guys follow like any of like the health, experts or even health influencers, even like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is really big on seed oils right now. So it's a really trendy topic, and something that some brands are latching on to hopefully, generate some extra sales. Protein, still a big thing. If you can have that call out of protein in a serving or protein in a pack, that's going to help you out. And the last thing is they just want more for less. So in this economy, some people are struggling a little bit. They're more price conscious. So you can't get away with charging a super high premium for your products anymore. They want the Costco approach. Costco, if you look at their business the past few years, has absolutely taken off. They were always big, but they're getting even bigger. And it's because of this idea of more for less. They want to go, instead of buying protein bars for a 12 pack for $25, this is actually a real case study because one of my friends owns a protein bar business in Costco. He sells 12 bars for $25. Costco sells 18 for $18.99. So if you think about it, like they're getting more quantity for a less price than the smaller quantity. So they want both ends of it. Just something to pay attention to as you're marketing, as you're selling, kind of paying attention to those customer trends, what's going on in the world will really help position your products. And that is it. If you guys have any questions, happy to answer them, fire them away. Anything about sales, marketing, entrepreneurship? Yeah.
What was your most successful social media ad?
Ooh, that's a good question. Actually, funny enough, it wasn't even a post. It was a comment on TikTok. Some woman posted this thing about, do you know like Element, the salt, the electrolytes? So she posted something about that, and she like asked about trying other brands, and somebody said Wake Up Water, and it got like 8,000 likes. And that day, I think we can't track it super well, but based on what we think happened, it was like $5,000 or $6,000 potentially in that like single comment. So from like a conversion rate on that, like that was pretty good. We've had a couple posts go like kind of viral. Like my brother and I like posted a stupid like Instagram video. We live in South Boston, so there's this whole thing about like South Boston used to be really like tough and Irish and very like hard nosed. Now you have like everybody out of college moving there, and it's become like a little bit softer, a little bit more like yuppie. And we kind of posted a video like joking about that, and it got like 1 million views, and every single liquor store like in Boston sold out of the product. So just weird things like that. But I've also had really bad stories where like I've paid like an influencer like $10,000 to post products and like basically got nothing back. So like the influencer and like the marketing stuff, it's so hit or miss. So we've actually kind of transitioned from working from some of these bigger influencers to working with smaller ones and just doing a lot more. Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge thing right now because some brands have like built their whole business on TikTok. To be honest, it never was big for us because, to be like brutally honest, I just didn't understand it. Like I'm like, we're on TikTok, we post videos, they're terrible. Like, but nobody's buying product on TikTok really, for us at least. Then about like a month ago, I brought in an agency to kind of help with it. My thought is that either TikTok will remain or somebody's going to buy it, and that they'll keep it. I think it's too big, it's too valuable for someone to let it slip away. So I think somebody's going to come in and buy it. There's talks like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. There's talks about Elon Musk. Mr. Beast is saying he might try to do something. So I think somebody's going to buy it. So we're still kind of investing in it, but not nearly as much. It's an interesting platform because it's not really like high quality sales. Like a lot of people are just like looking at it at like 1 o'clock in the morning and they're like, oh, that looks cool, I'll buy it. And like they don't really care about your product. They're not going to buy it again, but it can be huge. Like I know there's a protein powder business called Seek Protein. It's like SEEQ. And it's like a clear protein, almost looks like a fruit juice or like a flavored water. And they only did TikTok Shop for a while, and they made like $5 or $6 million in like the first 12 or 18 months just on TikTok Shop. So like if you know how to do it, it's great. I'm just not good at it. And like again, like we're still so small. Like I have a team now that helps me with my Amazon. Like I have a finance team. I have different parts of the business now that I've hired for. TikTok's just not really one of them. We just brought somebody in, but it's going to take some time to get built up. Hopefully it doesn't get banned, but if it does, that attention is going to go somewhere else. Those eyeballs will go to Instagram, will go to Snapchat, YouTube. So you just kind of have to always match, where the customer is. But it's a really interesting platform for sure. Yeah.
How did you come up with the like original formula for Wake Up Water? Like, how do you like if you're gonna make an adjustment in the future? Like, how what type of things?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So that's kind of the part that nobody really talks about. Like when I was first starting, I had no idea what I was doing. I knew I wanted to create it because I'm like not a big coffee drinker, but I'm tired like, all the time. I don't sleep a lot. Trying to run businesses, like I've a social life, active person. So super tired all the time. Needed caffeine. Didn't want unhealthy energy drinks. Wanted to create my own that actually was healthy. So I literally took to Google and just started typing away like beverage manufacturers, like beverage development companies, how to make a drink. And then ultimately, I found a beverage development company who basically sat down with me and I said exactly what I wanted. And they kind of took all those ingredients, put them together, and made sure it tasted pretty good. I gave them a set of different flavors that I wanted to try. They would send me samples. I'd bring over all my friends, have them try it. And then we would make tweaks. So, we'd taste one and be like, it's too sweet, doesn't taste great. Let's try to like lower it a little bit. Let's make it a little less flavorful. Let's make it more flavorful. Let's make it less bitter, more better, different things, playing around with it. And you send them revisions, and that company will just keep changing it for you and sending you back revisions until you're happy. Once you're done, they'll give you the exact formula, and you just have to take that and bring it to a manufacturer. So these manufacturers make products like Wake Up Water and Celly all day long. So if I have a formula for them and how to make it, I can go and just give them that and they make it. And I like to go to those things because it's super fascinating, like watching it all be made and canned and packaged. So yeah, you find a company to help you make it, make a formula, and then give that formula to a manufacturer and you're good to go. Yeah. A legal process. So a little bit different with Celly and Wake Up Water. Wake Up Water, the FDA doesn't really like monitor that type of product super closely. So there really wasn't much compliance. Like it's just making sure that's safe, like using a facility that's like safe, running through your product through tests to make sure that after every time I make the product, I run it through tons of tests, make sure there's no yeast, no mold, all these different things, and kind of do all these micro tests. With Celly, it's a little bit different because it's alcohol. So it's really, really tough. Like you have to like get approved formulas. You have to use certain manufacturers. And then like if you use a manufacturer in one state, you have to get like a license in that state. And then if you want to ship it to Massachusetts, you need like a license in that state. So like the alcohol space is really, really complicated. At this point now, like I have like a legal team that like, kind of helps me with that stuff. So I don't have to, like I have to know about it, but I don't have to do the day to day. But early on, like I don't know if I should be saying this, but like you're almost kind of like just trying to do your best. And like if you don't do something correctly, like they'll probably reach out to you and say like, hey, you got to change this. Hey, you need to get this certification. Hey, you need to do this and this. And then you just go and do that. But don't overthink it. Like it's there's enough information out there to like figure it out. And also talking to people in the space. Like Cal talked about like talking to people. Alcohol, for example, someone who graduated from Holy Cross is like one of the biggest players in alcohol, Jerry Sheehan, sat on the board here, like just very wealthy, very successful, and he owns a ton of different companies. So like I've talked to him and his family about how to do all this. And even now, like even though the brands are getting there a little bit, it's a long way to go, but they're getting there a little bit. I'm constantly reaching out to people and just asking them what's working, what's not working, how'd you do this? If I have a legal question that's similar to like another brand, I might just go out and ask the brand, hey, what did you do for this? Like we had a manufacturing issue, not to go into too detail, but like they really messed up Celly and like they sent us cans and they were leaking and all this stuff. Cost us a ton of money. And we had to go after them like legally because they weren't helping us out at all. There's another brand I know who uses that manufacturer. We hopped on a call. We talked about the details. What are they doing? What are they seeing work? And you kind of just go from there. But it's a lot of like resourcefulness and like reaching out to people and figuring it out.